Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of Straight Talk Whiskey. I'm Nick here with you as always, and we have donned our flannels and getting all set with the Christmas lights for the holiday season that is now upon us and is only a short few weeks away. So, for episode number 2626, I figured we would review or pair together two whiskeys from Ireland that we have reviewed before, but never did a compare and contrast in looking to find something to help you unwind, help you spend that hard-earned money that you've been saving, and figure out what you're going to go out and potentially pick up as a special treat for hopefully yourself and maybe some other people. But let's take a look at the Bushmills 21 and the Redbreast 21, both really great options. You can check out my reviews of these two. And so we're going to go into a side-by-side comparison. I haven't tasted these in a long time, so I usually tend to keep them for special occasions, and then those special occasions sort of just either don't come around or, forget about it. So, anyway, both of these, obviously 21 years old, come from Ireland. The price point on both of these are not the same. Depending on where you go, you could find the Redbreast 21 for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and the Bushmills 21 you could find, what I paid for it was $99, which was really a steal. I'm sure it probably retails a little bit higher than that. Maybe, I'm not sure what the current price is now. I haven't really checked on it, but there you go. So we've got the two bottles side by side. Both keep in the same traditional bottle types that each brand is known to have. The Bushmills 21 clearly has the better presentational case to it. It's got a nice little magnet on the inside that closes up nicely, and then it also has, it did have a box somewhere. And so both obviously triple distilled, individually numbered bottles. That's great for collectors. I don't really care about the bottle numbers, but some people like to keep track, especially if they get, I guess, multiple Bushmills 21s or any other series of numbered bottle ranges, is that they can keep track sort of the quality, if it improves or not. Batch one might be great, and then the following batches might not be so great. So that's what you have going on there. Matured in 3 woods, so we have sherry, bourbon, and Madeira casks. Hint of spice. Both of these, I would say, just because of their nature, lend themselves to a nice wintry Christmas time beverage. So obviously the main difference between these two, as you probably already know, between Bushmills and Redbreast, is that the Bushmills is a single malt and the Redbreast is a single pot still. Both Irish whiskies, but there's the difference there. So when we look at the ABV, this is the one thing that is interesting about the Bushmills 21, and probably a good contributor to why it's priced a lot lower than Redbreast is. Demand, but is the first one. But the alcohol by volume, it's 40% for the Bushmills 21, and 46, as it should be, or higher, for the Redbreast 21. So very interesting why they chose 40%. I don't know. Were they really worried about having stock? Maybe. Who knows? So we'll pour some glasses of these. Curious if anybody who's watching this has recently partook in the Glencairn's Black Friday fiasco, if you will, of their black glasses. It was quite the sight to be seen on the online forums of people trying to get these glasses. Obviously not totally related to Irish whiskey or what we're doing here, but I was actually kind of intrigued to get those glasses. But it turns out, unfortunately, that even though they were about £7 each or something like that, you could only get 4, but the shipping was upwards of $40. So for me, it wasn't really worth it. Whatever I'm buying has to be more than the shipping, or it's really not worth it in my opinion. Yeah, I know you would say, go buy more things, but I wasn't really looking to spend over $40 with them, even though I absolutely love their glassware. Big fan of the glassware, just don't have sort of that extra money to be spending on it. So anyway, there you go. We've got both of these, the 21. We'll start with the Bushmills, see what we got going on in there. Both a very similar color. I really can't even tell. I would say the Redbreast 21 is slightly lighter, but, it's really subtle differences there. Now, the first thing that you get with the Bushmills 21 is a lot of rich, deep fruits. I'm getting a lot of grape, a little bit of almond, some nuttiness in it. Definitely grape. So heavily fruity, light on the spice. I know the case with the 21 is going to be slightly different. So this is a good compare and contrast to figure out what is more in your palate or preferences. So let's go in for the taste. Now, on the taste, the first thing that hits you, or at least with me, is just very ripe or overripe grape. It's a really interesting mix of grape, raisin, where it's got fruity, but it's almost got an earthy sense to it. But then there's also some other fruits that are in there, sort of like nectarine and orange, slightly going on in there. It's really interesting flavors that you don't necessarily expect coming. You think that with a single malt and 21 years old, you might get something that's a little more biscuity, malty in nature, baked bread, that kind of thing. But that's not at all what you get in this glass. In terms of the mouthfeel, it's pretty quick into the palate and out. There's not much lingering, and the aftertaste is quick. It leaves you pretty soon, which is unfortunate. Again, with the ABV, had they stepped that up to even 43, they would have done themselves much better in presenting a luxury, if you will, whiskey to folks. Now, I know there's some other whiskey categories out there, like Scotch, that something that might be considered premium price-wise is probably in the same ballpark as this or much higher. And then the super premium, doesn't really compare. But alas, that is the Irish whiskey sector. Really interesting how soft and fruity this is. So if you're looking for something that's not too deep into the earth of like spicy, peppery, almost syrupy in mouthfeel and texture, then this is probably a good bet for you. Also, obviously the price, as we mentioned, if you're looking for something that's a little bit less money, I would say out of these two, that's where you go. Now, for $100, I could point you to some other Irish whiskeys that might be of benefit to you. Case in point, the Powers John's Lane. For me, that kicks the bud out of the Bushmills 21 any day, but that's just my preferences. So, anyway, let's put this down and take a little swig of the Redbreast one. Now, I know I don't have the whole palate cleanser and that sort of thing, and the perfectionists are probably losing their minds, but it's okay there. So, a little smell of the hand there gets you back to basic what you're used to. So with the Redbreast 21, it's got a really in-depth description. You can just sort of take a look at that. You might not be able to see all of that, but all of this is talking about the single pot still whiskey, quintessentially the Irish style of whiskey, how it's made, matured, distilled, So this one is a combination of first fill American bourbon barrels and then Spanish Oloroso sherry casks. So it's a little bit different. It doesn't have the Madeira cask in the Bushmills 21. So that's basically what you got going on there. And then the tasting notes are pretty lengthy, which is nice if you need sort of a guide going through it. But if you're going to pay several hundreds of dollars for this whiskey, you probably are discerning enough to see what's going on in there. So let's go in for the 21. The nose comes off as something that's very much older than a 21-year-old whiskey. And maybe not in the sense of whiskey aging, but as something that is much older. Something that has been stored away in a cabinet or behind some things in a shelf for years and years and years, maybe even decades. But something that tastes very old, vintage, sort of like your grandparents' home, something like that. If they've got a lot of old things in there. It's very soft. It's not very telling of what you're about to drink when you take a nose of this. It's very soft, very biscuity. There's not even the little pepperiness that I would expect in a Redbreast. There's a slight hit on the palate of the sherry note, but not much. The nose, like I said, is pretty subdued on this for what it is. And in terms of other Redbreast expressions that are out there, definitely underplays the actual flavor of it. Let's go in for a taste. Now this one, when you taste it, like I said, it's so unbecoming in the nose. And when you taste it, it's got this really rich, velvety maple syrup texture to it. And it's really rich in almonds and cashews and these really rich, nutty flavors. And then it's got this pepperiness to it, not in the sense of a really peppery rye, a high-proof rye, but something that is more textural in nature, where it's a little prickly on the tongue. You get sort of fig and allspice, nutmeg, hint of cinnamon going on, definitely vanilla. And it's a little bit of cherry that's in there, but it's definitely something that you'll want to take your time with. And these are both really sipping whiskeys, but the 46% Redbreast 21, I would say even more so. But it's a great one to just keep going back to as you sort of let it sit out in the open for a little bit. All right, this has been bottled up for quite a while now. It's going to change in flavor. And also, with it just sitting with the cork in it and, the cardboard box there, it's not going to last forever. That's the thing that people have to understand, is that there is some oxygen that is able to get through, even though we can pick it up by the cap, not even the bottle, and it stays on. There's still some oxidation going on in there. It seeps through, and it's mixing in with the air, and some of that flavor is being lost. So you don't want to purchase this and then keep it around for 75,000 years and hope that it's going to taste absolutely the same. Though I will say the higher proof does help it out a little bit in retaining that flavor and original essence, character. But the great thing about the Redbreast 21 is that you get a real sense of what it was aged in. So the American bourbon barrels, you definitely get in there. In the center of the palate, there's just really rich vanilla, and it makes you want just like a huge freaking apple pie with a couple dollops of vanilla bean ice cream. That's basically what it boils down to. But then it also has this really earthy nuttiness to it and these fruits that come out. And it's just beautiful. And the sherry mixture to it, it's like you're just being handed dessert in a glass. And I've always loved Redbreast for giving me sort of that essence every time I taste it, whether it's the 12, the 15, the 12 cask strength. All of the expressions do that. You can obviously tell which I think is the winner out of these two, but you can make up your own minds, obviously, on that, and definitely comment which one you prefer. And specifically in flavor, but also I understand that there's some parameters around what you might pick up if you saw them in a store. Obviously, again, back to price. Money is a huge motivator in what people are willing to purchase. Now we're going to do something blasphemous, which probably will send people into a tailspin, as things tend to do nowadays. But we're going to pour some of the 21 into the Bushmills. Notice we didn't go the other way around. Put that on there for aesthetic. Let this marry around a little bit. See what happens there. On the nose, you sort of get a rainbow sherbet action going on. If you've ever been to a holiday party, at least I know growing up, the main beverage of choice in the places that I would go, New Year's Eve parties, Christmas Eve parties, would be a bowl of like fruit punch with some soda in it or something like that, maybe some Sprite. And then there would be several huge scoops of rainbow sherbet in there. Sherbet, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say. But I'm getting exactly that in the nose. And it's kind of nice because it takes you back, and really it's a great season for reflecting. The colder winter months, more people tend to stay inside. But you don't want this video to go on forever. But we'll take a quick taste and we'll wrap it up. I don't know. When I first started tasting it, I was hoping for something great to happen. I'm getting a sense of the rainbow sherbet in the sense of these cherries, sherry notes mixing in with this prickly pepperiness to it, and then these fruits that are going on in there. But I don't know that they're really a great pair to mix together. Probably not something that I will repeat in the future. But hey, you got to try these things, and I think we'll probably have some more episodes of mixing up different whiskeys because it's fun. And if you've seen the reviews that I've had on these individually, you may very well have the bottles yourself, and so you can do a little mixing. Obviously, there's some proportion here too that you can play with, so it's not like half of a glass into the other glass. You could just do a hint of things as you would if you were just adding water or something, trying to take it down. It's one thing I didn't do here. I may do it with the 21, but I really don't want to put much in there, like maybe a single drop or two. None in the Bushmills 21. I don't think it'll do it any favors, but anyway, that's it for episode number 126. If you're going to drink responsibly, and if you're going to get Christmas lights, I wish you the best of luck in untangling these, as fun as we know they all are. But pour yourself a glass of something good to help you deal with all of it, and hope you and yours have a happy holiday season, and we will see you next week.